When it comes to GPUs, we like to go fully in depth. We test dozens of graphics cards year in and year out, and we keep evaluating them months after release as new games and drivers come about. Our last update to this article came in January and a lot has changed since then. You could even argue we've seen the biggest change of the last 2 to 3 years in PC graphics with the arrival of AMD and Nvidia's latest generation 14nm and 16nm GPUs. Nvidia kicked things off by delivering one of the most powerful, most efficient GPUs we've ever seen. The GTX 1080 is a monster, but it also commands $600 plus MSRP. Then they went on to release the $380 GTX 1070, though good luck finding one for that price. But even at $400, $450 the GTX 1070 is an exceptional buy given it beats the previous generation $650 part, and then some. Eventually gamers were rewarded with more affordable GPUs on both ends, with AMD aiming for the mainstream $150 to $250 segment until their true next-generation GPU arrives sometime next year, see AMD Vega. On the opposite end of the spectrum, for gamers with more money than they know what to do with, Nvidia also launched a new $1,200 Titan X based on Pascal. It will provide a 25% boost over the already amazing GTX 1080 for twice the price. But if you have a burning hole in your wallet, why not? For the rest of us, we're going to assume this isn't a problem, so we'll pretend the Titan X doesn't exist for this article. So, are looking to upgrade or buy a new GPU? Don't mind all that testing, marginal FPS gains depending on the game you play, power consumption figures, or overclocking potential. You want a simple question answered. Given a certain budget, which is the graphics card you should buy? Fret no more. Number 1. Best overall graphics card. Nvidia GeForce GTX 1080. If you ignore the Titan X, which you certainly should given the marginal gains versus price to be paid, then the GeForce GTX 1080 is the most powerful GPU on the market, and that makes it an easy choice as the best overall graphics card. When we reviewed the GTX 1080 in May, we awarded it with our first ever 100 product score, and 4 months later we stand by it. In short, the GTX 1080 delivers 60% more performance than the previous generation GTX 980, while consuming the same amount of power. It's also 22% faster than the previous king of the hill, the Maxwell Titan X. There are plenty of exceptional GTX 1080 boards to choose from. Gigabyte is offering their WindForce version for $630, while Zotac are pushing their AMP edition out the door for the same price. Those willing to spend $700 will find extreme versions from the usual suspects, and we really like the Gigabyte Stream Gaming, Asus ROG Strix, and MSI Gaming X models. The GTX 1080 is one of the few single GPU solutions capable to tackling 4K gaming. This also makes the GTX 1080 the best multi-GPU solution for gaming at 4K if there's no concern for keeping a budget in check, though honestly we'd recommend you go for one first and wait to see if you need the second. Number 2. Best performance for your money. Nvidia GeForce GTX 1070. Those looking for some serious rendering power but don't want to part with an organ will find the GeForce GTX 1070 more attractive. This is the perfect option for those gaming at 1440p. With Maxwell Titan X-like performance, who can complain with the current $400 asking price? Alternatively, for the same price you could crossfire a pair of RX 470 graphics cards, but at best they will only match the GTX 1070 and at worst they will be over 50% slower. Not only that, but they will also consume considerably more power, generate more heat, and likely create more noise. In other words, go for the GeForce. Graphics cards such as the Gigabyte GTX 1070 WindForce run very cool and quiet even when under full load gaming. With no competition in this price range, the GeForce GTX 1070 is the obvious option, and a great one at that. Number 3. Best Mainstream GPU. Nvidia GeForce GTX 1063GB. There are two excellent graphics card options at the mainstream $200-$250 price range, so it was a tough choice. The 3GB version of the GeForce GTX 1060 is plenty fast, and at just $200 provides one of the best, if not the best price per frame ratio of any GPU available today. Competition should come from the Radeon RX 484GB, which also features a $200 MSRP. However, the cards are selling at a $30 to $50 premium as of writing. Same with the 8GB models, which start at $270. Under these circumstances, it leaves the Radeon RX 470 to fight AMD's $200 battle, and there are some excellent boards of offer from Gigabyte and Asus at this price point. Head-to-head, the GTX 1063GB is still 10% faster on average, with few titles like Hitman, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided and Doom running Vulkan, favoring the purportedly $180 Radeon. The RX 470 also consumes more power and doesn't respond quite as well to overclocking when compared to the GeForce. There is the argument that the 3GB GTX 1060 will run out of steam down the track due to its limited memory buffer, but we don't feel that will become an issue, especially at the resolutions where frame rates will make sense for these cards, and in the worst of scenarios, if you are willing to tone down things like textures slightly. Once the RX 484GB drops to $200, we'll see an even match between AMD and Nvidia camps at this price point, and you won't go wrong in picking either side.